Hey, souls and spirits out there. Today we have arrived at the sixth Hermetic Principle. This is by far one of my favorite principles to talk about, so in today's episode is going to be probably a little bit longer than usual. The principle of cause and effect. This principle has shaped philosophy, religion, science, psychology, and metaphysics for thousands of years. Although different traditions have described it in different ways, almost every wisdom tradition has wrestled with the same type of questions. Why do things happen? Is life random? Is there such a thing as fate? What about destiny? Can our thoughts influence our future? Why do we suffer? Why do bad things seem to happen to good people? Why do selfish people sometimes seem to prosper? Is everything predetermined? Or are we kind of continually creating tomorrow through the choices that we make today? And today, we are going to begin exploring these questions through the Hermetic lens. We will also step beyond and look how different traditions look at this mystery as well. So let's begin by an observation. Imagine you are walking through a field. You notice a large oak tree. Ask yourself, why is that tree here? The answer seems obvious. Because an acorn once fell into the soil, because the rain nourished it, because sunlight fed it, because insects pollinated the surrounding trees and made everything kind of happen, because the climate supported its growth, because countless events unfolded over decades. The tree did not simply appear, it emerged from countless causes. Now ask yourself why you are listening to this podcast today. Perhaps you know me, maybe we're friends, maybe we're family, perhaps someone recommended it to you. Or you've been looking into Hermetics and this just popped up. Maybe you've been interested in ancient wisdom, or you're searching for answers after a difficult season in life. Again, cause after cause after cause. The further back we trace events, the more interconnected everything becomes. The Kabbalion states the sixth principle as this: every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. And we're going to break that down a little bit. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. This kind of suggests that chance is not random. It has become of some unrecognized cause. And if you think about it, imagine walking in on a movie and it not making sense. It all seems random because we didn't see the start of it. But once you watch the film entirely, you begin to understand how each scene leads naturally into the next. Or hopefully if the movie's good. I think about life, or I think I should say lifetimes like this. We often experience one moment in time, one effect, without seeing all of the thousands of causes that actually came before it. One of the most beautiful illustrations of this principle to me would be the famous weighing of the heart scene in the ancient Egyptian beliefs. And as we talked about last week, Ma'at, who is the goddess of truth, but also overall cosmic order of the universe. Truth, justice, balance, harmony, the proper functioning of the universe. She kind of encases all of that. Every honest action reflected Ma'at. To live according to Ma'at was to participate consciously in maintaining the order of creation. So after death, according to the Egyptian beliefs, one's heart was weighed against the feather of Ma'at. And if you see statues of her, you see that feather on her head. The heart represents one's entire life, every intention, every action, every choice. If the heart remained balanced with truth and harmony and justice, it could continue its spiritual journey. If not, it was burdened by the weight of its own actions, and then the heart was devoured by Emmet, a fearsome kind of creature mixed of crocodile, leopard, and hippopotamus. So let's all have light hearts, yeah? Let's not let that happen. But I love this teaching because the heart reveals itself, and the life you live shapes your soul. In a sense, you become the consequences of your own choices. Whether or not one interprets this literally, psychologically, symbolically, whatever, I feel like this teaching is really powerful. Every decision we make lives an imprint upon us. We are continually becoming the people that our choices are creating. I like this example also of like the ripple in the pond. I know I've said it before, because our lives often work exactly the same way. A kind word spoken to a stranger, one encouraging conversation to someone, a single generous act, one decision to forgive somebody. All of these things may seem little or insignificant at the time, yet they ripple out through families and communities and generations. The same can be said of cruel comments, a broken promise, or violence. The ripple just continues to spread. But the Hermetic student begins to see life not as isolated events, but as interconnected waves. And this is one of, I think, the central teachings of this principle. We spend our lives reacting to things. Someone insults us, so we become angry. The economy changes and we panic. And think about how dependent on social media we have become in this day of age. You can't hardly do anything without using social media almost. Someone is negative on a social media post and our mood immediately sours. Or especially if you're like me, like that just immediately brings me down. Even if I don't know them, even if they have nothing to do with me or anything that I'm doing, but they say one mean or rude thing, I'm like, why? Why would you do that? Why would you bring someone down like that? But other people's opinions determine our confidence a lot. External events determine our peace. And Hermetic philosophy would describe this as living primarily in effect. We should strive to become the cause, though. Instead of asking why people are making me unhappy or, why that person's comment just made me so upset, we should ask ourselves how we should respond to that. Shift the thoughts a little bit to make it more personal responsibility. It's not up to the other person to determine how we feel. It's up to us. Now let's think about something. Do we truly have free will, or is everything all determined? That's kind of a big overall question. Hermetic philosophy recognizes that we are influenced by countless causes: our genetics, our upbringing, culture, education, environment, the choices of others, the era we are born into. All of these things, countless others also shape us. Yet Hermetic tradition also insists that consciousness allows us to participate differently. The more unconscious we become, the more we are carried along by causes we do not understand. But the more conscious we become, the greater our capacity to become the causes ourselves. Freedom grows with awareness. And this doesn't mean we have unlimited control of everything, but it means increasing our participation in life. So I would like you to imagine something with me. Imagine your mind as a garden. Every thought is a seed. Every belief grows into a plant. Every repeated action waters something in that garden. Some people plant intentionally. Others allow weeds to grow without noticing. Months later, we harvest exactly what we cultivate. One cannot blame the garden for just existing. The garden simply responds. And these teachings are encouraging us to become conscious gardeners, to ask ourselves, what thoughts am I feeding? What habits am I watering? What beliefs am I strengthening? Because today's thoughts often become tomorrow's character, and tomorrow's character often shapes kind of our future destiny. Another thing you may think of when you hear the phrase cause and effect is karma. Karma is a big one. It is popular in culture right now. Karma is something reduced to that idea that what goes around comes around. But in Hindu philosophy, karma is much richer than that. The Sanskrit word karma literally means action. Every action has a consequence. Every thought, every intention, every word, the deed leaves an imprint. Those imprints help shape future experiences. But karma isn't just a system of punishment or reward. It's an education. Imagine learning to play an instrument. Every practice session changes you a little bit. Some changes happen immediately. You just get it. Others accumulate over years. Eventually, you become a different musician because of these repeated actions. Karma can work similarly. Our choices shape our character. Our character influences our future choices. And this can create patterns that continue over time. And closely connected to karma is the concept of dharma. Dharma can be understood in many ways depending on the context, but it often refers to living in accordance with truth and duty and righteousness, or one's proper path in life. When our actions align with dharma, harmony grows. When action moves away from dharma, suffering can happen. Notice how this resembles the Egyptian idea of living according with Ma'at. Different cultures, different symbols, different stories, different divine beings, but both emphasize living in harmony with an underlying cosmic order of everything. Now, with this principle, we have to talk about reincarnation, where lives in one chapter, where life is one chapter in a much larger journey. Actions performed in one lifetime are often believed to influence future births. This does not mean that every event in someone's life is understood as a direct punishment or action for a previous life, but Hindu philosophical schools interpret karma in different ways, and many teachers caution against making simplified judgments about another person's suffering. But rather, karma is often described as a vast web of causes and conditions that unfold across many lives. And whether one accepts reincarnation literally or symbolically, the teachings emphasize responsibility, personal responsibility. Our actions matter, not just today, but as part of the longer development of our consciousness. And the principle of cause and effect becomes especially significant when it is applied to reincarnation. Because if every cause has an effect, what happens when the physical body dies before all effects have unfolded? Many traditions believe that in reincarnation, answers that are unresolved causes will just continue. A deeply rooted habit may not disappear simply because a lifetime ends. A pattern of compassion may continue shaping the soul. A gift developed over many years may emerge more easily in another lifetime. A relationship may continue in a completely new form. This idea is something described as karmic continuity. Imagine stopping a song part of the way through. The music has not reached its resolution. The next movement continues what the earlier movement began. In the same way, reincarnation traditions often describe the soul as returning to continue its development. Now, I want to look at Buddhism for just a minute. There is a Buddhist teaching that is called dependent origination, which I hope to break down in a future episode, but in very, very basic terms. It is a teaching that says that things exist in dependence on causes. Everything arises because of conditions. A flower blooms because of the soil, of the rain, of the sunlight, time, the seeds, countless invisible relationships intercoagulating together. Remove enough of those conditions and the flower cannot exist. And the same is true for ourselves. Rather than looking for one single cause, Buddhism encourages us to see an entire network of conditions. And karma in this tradition is primarily about intention. Two identical outward actions may create very different karmic consequences depending on the intention behind them. Imagine someone donating money to something. One person gives from a completely compassionate place. Another gives purely to gain admiration for their big donation. The action looks identical. Same monetary value, same place. The intention is different though. Therefore, the karma will differ from that single action. Another statement you may recognize comes from the New Testament. Whatever one sows, that will he also reap. This agricultural metaphor would have been immediately understood to ancient listeners, I feel like. Farmers harvest what they plant. The seeds we plant, whether love, forgiveness, generosity, or resentment, eventually bear fruit. Modern psychology confirms many aspects of what ancient teachers observed. Repeated thoughts become mental habits. Repeated behaviors strengthen neural pathways. Emotional reactions become conditioned over time. Yet it also demonstrates something hopeful, and that is that human beings can change. New habits can be learned and healing is possible. The brain itself shows remarkable capacity for adaptation through much of life. While psychologists describe these processes scientifically rather than metaphysically, the practical lessons resonate with Hermetics. Conscious choices, practiced consistently, can gradually reshape who we become. Some of the causes shaping our lives are not really even conscious thoughts a lot of the times, though. They are even hidden beliefs we have. Someone may consciously desire sex while unconsciously believing that visibility might be dangerous, or they even could possibly be scared of it. Or someone who wants love while believing that closeness always leads to abandonment. Maybe someone wants to speak, publicly while carrying an old belief that their voice does not matter. These beliefs often form through experiences. Someone we look up to criticizes us. A painful relationship, judgment, a humiliating moment, religious conditioning, that is a huge one. Cultural expectations upon us, trauma, repeated messages to us about gender and class and race and age and body and intelligence and spirituality or our worth. Once these are formed, these beliefs may operate quietly beneath our awareness. And this is where shadow work that we've talked about kicks in again. This is where we work on that. Visualization can also be a powerful practice when it's used wisely. Athletes visualize performances. Speakers imagine delivering their messages calmly. Artists picture how work looks completed, possibly. I know I'm always mixing it up, but I try to visualize the overall outcome at one point. Spiritual practitioners imagine healing and protection and transformation and all kinds of things. It can reduce fear, it can increase our motivation, and it can clarify direction and things. It can even reveal kind of hidden resistances that we have within ourselves. But visualization should be joined with action. Visualization itself does not do the job. Imagine a gardener that does not plant the actual garden. I just imagine the layout, but I never actually plant it. Me imagining a podcast to write, but I don't actually record it or do anything with it. The inner image is, the cause, but the action builds the bridge through which the effect may enter physical life. Many people wait for motivation before kind of changing themselves, but motivation can fall under the principle of rhythm. It rises and it falls. Habits create structure when motivation is absent. A person who meditates only when inspired may practice occasionally, but a person who meditates for 5 minutes, each morning creates a reliable cause. The effect may be subtle at first. Greater awareness, a small pause before reacting to things. Improved awareness over months or years, though. The person may become more profoundly different. Religious traditions have always kind of understood this. The daily prayer, the weekly Sabbath, offerings, seasonal fasting, repeated chants, pilgrimages, scripture study, communal worship. These practices shape the person through repetition. Spiritual identity is formed not through kind of dramatic revelation, but through the ordinary things. But it's when people, or I should say organizations, take these things too far, which is how they can kind of hurt us over time. But if we do them ourselves, if we pick what's right for us, they can really benefit us. The principle of cause and effect is not a promise that we can control every event, everything that happens in our life. It is not a weapon for blaming things for our suffering. It's not a spiritual excuse for ignoring injustice. It is an invitation to awareness. We are affected by many things. Biology, history, culture, family, society, our environment, the choices of other people, perhaps karma, perhaps the unfinished patterns of our other lifetimes. We do not control every cause that reaches us, but consciousness gives us the ability to participate in life. We can become a cause of healing, a cause of honesty, a cause of justice, a cause of creativity, of protection, of beauty, of compassion. We may not witness every effect that happens. The kindness offered today may bloom years from now outward. The child raised with gentleness may carry that gentleness into another generation. The truth spoken about now may break a silence that has lasted for centuries. The art created today may comfort someone long after our time. The boundaries established now may change the patterns of an entire family. The Hermetic path is about becoming increasingly responsible for the quality of energy, thought, speech, action we contribute to reality. We are not only causes, but we are causes. As we are almost through looking at the principles, do you see how they support each other? They kind of interact with each other, and you really can't talk about one without bringing up another. Mentalism teaches that consciousness matters. Our thoughts matter. Correspondence reminds us that patterns, everything we do, repeats across all layers of reality. Vibration reveals that everything is in motion and everything is connected. Polarity teaches us apparent opposites often are one continuum. Rhythm shows us that life moves in cycles. Cause and effect explains that every action participates in an ongoing chain of creation. And gender, well, we'll talk about that soon. As we finish up here today, I'd like to offer up several simple practices. Every morning, ask yourself, what cause do I want to create today? Every evening, think back on what effects did your words or actions produce today. Practice expressing gratitude daily. Practice telling the truth kindly. kindly. Remember, always kindly. Notice recurring patterns and practice leaving people better than you found. And today I'd like to do something a little different. I would like to offer a prayer that I've written for all of us. So if you're a prayer person, Divine Source, Infinite Intelligence, help me recognize the causes I create. May our thoughts become clearer. May our words become kinder. May our actions become wiser. May our habits reflect our deepest values. May our hearts remain aligned with truth. Help us cultivate discernment rather than just certainty, curiosity rather than arrogance, compassion rather than judgment. Help us become conscious participants in the ever-unfolding life. May wisdom guide our choices, may courage strengthen our actions, and may love become the deepest cause behind everything we create. And so it is. Amen. So thank you for joining me on this deep exploration of the sixth principle. So until next time, live consciously, love generously, and remain curious to everything that's out there. Every day is another opportunity to become a conscious co-creator in the ever-unfolding mystery of life. I'll see you soon.